But K-File's extensive reporting now shows the two shared a close social circle for nearly 2 decades, from private jet flights to high-profile parties, and that's only part of the story. Photos, flight logs, and court records help reveal how long their personal history really was. K-File's Andrew Kaczynski is here with all of that, and it is some extensive research and reporting that you all did. You've chronicled this relationship between Trump and Epstein from the 80s to mid-2000s is obviously when their contact probably cut off. What's the most striking thing that you find that kind of contradicts this? Donald Trump is no fan of Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, so what we found, it really actually paints a portrait starting, as you said, in the 1980s up to the mid-2000s. It paints this portrait of a long, enduring friendship. I think there were several associates who have called them best friends. Epstein himself said that he was Donald Trump's closest friend for 10 years. And we looked through these hundreds of hours of video, hundreds of photos.
This story is becoming much bigger than just old photos or flight logs, because if you listen closely to what is coming out now, the real issue is not whether Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein simply knew each other. That part has never really been disputed. The real issue is how long the relationship lasted, how connected their social worlds actually were, and why new reporting keeps contradicting years of public distancing. The clip you just watched matters because it lays out something very specific. Not rumors, not random internet theories, flight logs, court records, photos, messages, public appearances. A documented timeline stretching from the 1980s into the mid-2000s, and that changes the conversation completely. For years, Trump and his allies have framed Epstein as somebody he barely knew, somebody he cut off quickly after realizing he was dangerous. But according to this reporting, the relationship appears much deeper and much longer than that public version suggests. And this is where people start asking bigger questions. Because when public figures repeatedly try to minimize a relationship, and then more records keep appearing that show private flights, weddings, parties, business competition, message exchanges, and years of social overlap, people naturally start wondering what else has not been fully explained. Basically, the problem here is not only the association itself, it is the contradiction. Watch for how even the reporting points out that Trump's own words are now being compared against years of documented interaction.
Look at just a few of them. This is in 1993, for instance. This is the same year that we found as well that Jeffrey Epstein attended Donald Trump's wedding to Mar-A-Lago. Trump flew on that plane 4 times with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell between Palm Beach, where Mar-A-Lago is, and where Epstein also owns a home. Let's fast forward then to 1994. Trump flew from Palm Beach to Washington, D.C. with his then wife, Marla Maples, his daughter, Tiffany, and a nanny before they returned to New Jersey that day. In August 1995, just he and Eric were on board with Epstein and Maxwell again. They flew from Palm Beach to Teterboro in New Jersey. And then in January 1997, Trump flew with the pair from Palm Beach to Newark, New Jersey. All of these trips, 8 in total, were documented in logs that I mentioned were from that trial.
That right there is why this story refuses to disappear. Because every time people think the Epstein issue is fading away, another layer comes back into public view. Another document, another photo, another connection, another timeline that forces people to ask the same question again. How close were these men really? And notice something important here. The reporting is not accusing Trump of Epstein's crimes. That distinction matters. But it is raising questions about honesty and transparency regarding the relationship itself. Those are two different things. In simple terms, the public argument for years was they barely knew each other. But the evidence being discussed now paints a picture of repeated contact over many years. Private jet trips, social events, fashion shows, Mar-A-Lago appearances, wedding attendance, phone messages, even public compliments that became very uncomfortable once Epstein's crimes became fully known. And this is where the political danger starts showing up, because voters can sometimes forgive mistakes. What they struggle to forgive is the feeling that they are not getting the full truth. That is why this issue keeps returning even years later. And there is another part people are quietly noticing. Look at how many people around the Epstein case, later appeared around powerful political figures. The report mentions Alex Acosta, the prosecutor who gave Epstein the controversial plea deal in 2008, later becoming Trump's labor secretary. That raises another serious public interest question. How did so many warning signs fail inside powerful institutions? Because this story is not only about one friendship anymore. It is about elite networks, influence, accountability, and whether wealthy, connected people operated under different rules for years. That is why members of both parties keep getting pulled back into this issue. Even Republicans are now publicly calling for more answers, more testimony, and more transparency. And if you notice, the White House keeps trying to move attention somewhere else. That alone tells you they understand how politically damaging this topic has become. Because once trust starts breaking down, every new detail feels bigger than it otherwise would. People start connecting dots. People start revisiting old statements. People start comparing public denials with documented timelines. And that is exactly why this story keeps surviving every attempt to move past it. The bigger issue here is not only what happened decades ago, it is whether powerful people were fully honest with the public about what they knew, when they knew it, and how close these relationships really were. And for millions of Americans, that question still does not feel answered. If you think transparency and accountability should apply to powerful people the same way they apply to everyone else, leave your thoughts in the comments. And subscribe for more investigative breakdowns where we slow things down, connect the timeline, and look at what the headlines are really showing.